is hunts for elephants, bigger animals. In one of his sojourn, then from Ikolemu looking for where they can get water, they now got to this site. On getting to this site, he was astounded. We were looking for almost a 40 kilometers from here, looking for water, still large water here. So he decided to go back to inform the king. My brother, we are hunting, I got to his place and I saw this river. So the hunter then was Oguntimeyin, while the king then at Ikolemu is Laroye. So the two of them came down to the site, seeing what they wanted. So they decided to settle down at the bank of the river. So in one of their trying to rent the tent, a tree now fell into the river. And a voice came out of the river saying, Enyoma Daniwolo, you have broken my time, but 84 Kokwa. So everybody the two of them were so shocked. Who is this person? Simultaneously, the spirit now answered, Oshogbo Pele, Oshogbo Rola, Oshogbo Pele, Oshogbo. That was when they knew they are in Oshogbo. Literally meaning Oshogbo. So now, they now felt, what is the next thing to do? In Yoruba then, something strange happened. You do divination. During their divination, they wanted to know what's happening. So the Babalawo now said, Osun dwell here. You cannot stay with Osun. So they moved from the bank of the river, moved up. They now built a hut. That hut today is what we call the First Palace. And there's these promises between them that we said we should leave this place. As a powerful person, they felt, how will somebody in the river be telling us to leave? So if we are to leave, what will you do for us? And I said, okay, if you are to leave, I will make you prosper. There is no war that will conquer you. Do my bidding, and every year there must be somebody from your lineage to come and bring object of appeasement to me every year.
But the grove wasn't always this beautiful and serene. In fact, there was a time it was completely infested with termites until an Austrian artist, Susan Wenger, and her husband Uli Bayer arrived to save the sacred monument. Wenger devoted some 50 years of her life to preserving the forest, and with the help of local craftsmen in the city, she transformed the sacred grove into a sculptural garden with compelling artworks and objects of habitation. Because of them, this 200 acres is now a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
When Mama started with the Osun Groves, she started at the area we called Ayedakun. Ayedakun is also part of the groves. Our first two sculptures are still there, where we have Obatala and Yemo. And she did that, not in one place, at the main shrine, Ebu Yamako, and inside the forest there are the sculptures there that she made. And Mama would do the heart with meditating, like communication with the deity before doing any form of art. And Mama got her inspiration, from there, because she stayed there for a while.
She was invited to come and see or assist us in treating this termite attack. In doing that, she now fell in love with the culture. So she is so powerful and mystic that if she sleeps, revelations of what she is expected to do for this place will come to her. Then she now felt, for somebody of her status, there's a need for her to have people to work with. Then she now got in touch with the Oba. Then there and then some interstate indigenous that were into art then were introduced to her. So that was why they formed what we call a new sacred art movement. With this new sacred art movement, from instruction from her, that's why we have all these structures.
Shaded by a canopy of trees with a flight of stone leading downwards, the inner grove lies within a natural depression, marking the exact spot where the first palace of the founder of Osogbo was located. The ancient palace with its ornate pillars and elegant designs has remained in its original state for decades, and its sacredness upheld for as long as it stands. A short walk away from the palace will take you to the Osun River, which on a normal day looks just like any other river except for the utter stillness that pervades the atmosphere around it and the occasional calving in the midst of its waters. Otherwise called the Herbs of Osun, because according to its devotees, this calm flowing river transcends ordinary water. Everything about the Osun Grove revolves around this river. It's like the life of this place. You take it away, the entire place becomes lifeless. This is where the history of the grove actually started from. And every year, thousands of devotees of the Osun goddess converge by the bank of this river, where they pray, believing that all of their problems will be solved by the goddess.
If it is just a mere river, why the crowd? If it is just a mere river, why are people taking this water? I'm using this water in context because here we don't have river, we don't have water. Please, we don't have water. Once you are here, you want agbo, apps. People that needed one thing or the other comes here to seek for assistance from Osun goddess. Believing, as I said, it's your faith. Believing he or she will do it for them. Whatever is being taken here is apps, it's agbo. If you take it with your faith, be you me, you'll be healed. It has been proven beyond reasonable doubt.
While the grove is the site of Osun's most sacred shrine, many Yoruba deities are also depicted here with sculptures that are centuries old and shrines where their devotees worship. Despite the sanctity attached to it, managing the grove is not without its own challenges.
There's no lumber that will come into this site that will not pray will sleep off 72 hours. So that before we wake up, we would have cut down all the trees. We do have butchers and build closer to the site, thereby giving you problem. You have a challenge, but God is helping us through that native law. That native law, don't cut, don't fish. And aside that, the native law, I will tell you authoritatively, because if all of us goes home, we have night security if they are here. If you eventually decide that you want to catch any fish, you will cook it from now till that kingdom come, it will not done. So you will definitely put yourself into trouble.
Once sparkling and clear and home to a variety of fish, today the sacred river is murky and brown. It is now under constant threat from pollution from waste disposal and other human activities. Another fascinating thing about the grove is the standalone suspended bridge right at the heart of the forest and just above the Osun River, built some 87 years ago. The bridge has no pillar holding it because they say the Osun goddess forbids it. One of the unique things to see at the grove is this suspension bridge. We understand it was built in 1935, commissioned in 1936, and the reason why the bridge was constructed was to enable people around here move goods now, especially palm products, from one end of the bridge to the other. And up till this day, the bridge is standing. It's one bridge a lot of tourists who come to this area love to see. Despite the gradual fading away of celebrated African culture and tradition, the Osun Osogbo Sacred Grove is one cultural phenomenon that has not only stood the test of time, but also become a reference point for people from this part of the world. the grove remains more or less pristine, leaving visitors with this sense of peace and a connection to the dwellings of an elevated being and the ancient Yoruba tradition.
Rugwani bufu chingshwe, sugwani buji vovu shocha. I don't even know the meaning of what I talked just now. But it might mean forfeited sovereignty. Anyway, hope you don't learn how to speak Mandarin, because China don't joke with your inability to settle their debts. While we're borrowing $800 million from the World Bank to share to cushion the impact of subsidy removal, the federal government had reportedly defaulted in servicing our debt to China for 2 years running now. The debt, this particular debt, which was incurred for the completion of our railway modernization project from Abuja to Kaduna, Lagos to Ibadan section, and the Abuja Light Rail project, is in the region of $153.8 million, and that's about 69 billion naira, with an interest element of $92.1 million, and that's about 41 billion naira. But according to our debt management office, our government has not paid a kobo on this debt for 2 years between 2021 to December 2022. But really, wait, I thought they said this loan are easy to pay because they have single-digit interest. How come since that time, for 2 years now, we never ever pay shishi? If the 2 years period was a moratorium period, then the debt management office wouldn't have recorded this as debt not service. Anyway, with a lawyer like me, no. Our financial advisors will probably advise us later. But I just hope that it's not what I'm thinking. However, according to the Bureau of Statistics, the Nigerian Railway Corporation, Gabadia, as a whole, was only able to generate 11.6 billion naira between the year 2020 and 2022 as a blaming security for the poor turnover. That is like 5.5 billion on the average per annum. You can say, blame it on the rain, yeah. At this rate, how they won't take paid debt of 41.3 billion. Remember, our national debt also is hovering around 77 trillion. Yes, you can say debt everywhere, but not a single reliable public infrastructure to point to. You travel by road, bad road, accident, and insecurity will chase you away. You travel by train, you need to keep ransom somewhere, as kidnappers will kidnap you like chicken and demand ransom from your people. And yet government know they pay ransom. They will say they release you. Even when you are in prison in Nigeria, you can be attacked by bandits. Anyway, our skies are safe, so government fly only through the skies. And yet our leaders go abroad to enjoy public infrastructures when government officials like them provide for their citizens. Can call it a beriberiism masquerading as governance. You won't be far from it. Even though China has said it will not seize assets from African countries owing them, but they also added that they will not forget their debts. This fear is against the recent talk between the Zambia government and China on handing over the Zambian National Electricity Company, ZESCO, to Chinese due to the inability of the Zambian government to meet its loan repayment promises to China. While China was also, in fact, they were already in control of the country's broadcasting company, ZNBC, there were also fears that the main airport in Lusaka could be their next target. So that is why we are raising this alarm. Now remember how the civil society kicked against the sovereignty relinquishing clause in this same railway loan agreement, and how the then Minister for Transportation, Chibike Amechi, Abina Amechi Chibike, insisted that there was nothing to worry about. Anyway, now I hope with our inability to service this debt, there's still nothing to worry about. Because, well, me I hear Mandarin sha, now you went on the here. I just stylishly call on our incoming administration to take notes of where the dead bodies are buried, so that they understand the enormity of the tax ahead. Don't tell me you don't know later. I will therefore advocate that while it is good to borrow, it is much more honorable to keep to the terms and conditions of the debt servicing agreement, as your inability to ensure compliance with the terms and conditions of the agreement might not only cost you forfeiture, it also makes it impossible for subsequent creditors to finance you, and even the existing one will refuse to refinance your debt. Hope this Buhari administration has not finally brought this giant country to its knees with unserviceable debt. Anyway, time will tell. But remember, Femi Adesina say they left the country better than they met it. I hope say also soon we will not be missing Buhari just the same way we are missing Jonathan after we hoped for a better country under Buhari. Well, time they say we tell. Now here we go hang on for today. For previous episode, just simply follow us on all our social media platforms showing on your screen. And always remember, if you cannot do the time, don't do the crime. See you next week.
Hello and welcome to Global Business. I am Imewere Uhemokai. Today's show will cover a wide range of issues, including the Nigerian electricity sector, the oil and gas industry, and much more. You may remember that President Muhammadu Buhari approved the constitutional amendment allowing states, among other things, to license, generate, transmit, and distribute energy, which means he removed it from the exclusive list to the concurrent list, the issue of power. However, some analysts argue that allowing states to produce their own electricity is a bad idea, while others contend that this is the president's best move so far. We'll discuss more on this issue on Talking Point segment. We'll have a guest who has over 40 years of technical, professional, and academic experience. He'll be analyzing the electricity decentralization, economics of oil and gas industry, and the global oil and gas economy. But first, let's join Victor Anigo Nomsu on Business Trends.
As of December 2022, more than 313,000 micro, small, and medium-sized businesses had received funding from the Development Bank of Nigeria, totaling over 631 billion naira. This is according to the Managing Director, Dr. Tony Okpanachi. Okpanachi says 67% of the recipients of DBN money over the course of 5 years were women, and 27% were young people, with well over 250,000 employments already generated. Only 482 billion naira was distributed in 2021, showing a 31% increase. Over 26,000 bread factories in Nigeria have closed down in the last 4 years, according to Emmanuel Onuora, president of the Premium Bread Makers Association of Nigeria. He claimed that The industry's job losses are primarily due to the crippling of the cost of producing bread. He also cited the 30% wheat levy, the 15% wheat development levy, and the 15% duty tax as examples of government taxes that is responsible for the industry's losses. He claims that numerous letters from the industry players requesting the removal of the outdated 15% development fee, which has no further utility, has fallen on deaf ears of the Nigerian government. Now in other news, the British American Tobacco agrees to settle US government to resolve investigations into the cigarette manufacturer's activities in North Korea by paying $635.2 million. Regarding its business operations in North Korea from 2007 to 2017, the UK company negotiated a deferred prosecution deal with the US Department of Justice and a civil arrangement with the US Treasury Department's Office of Foreign Asset Control, and all this was according to a statement released by BAT. Now in China, as a result of weak global demand, China's cabinet announces a strategy to stabilize the country's crucial trade industry, which includes encouraging the export of cars and easing visa requirements for foreign business people. The action was taken following repeated warning from Chinese officials about a dire and challenging scenario for the development of international trade, as exporters reported a lack of orders, putting pressure on policymakers to support a sector that is essential to economic growth and employs around 180 million people. The State Council says that Chinese banks and their overseas branches were urged to provide financial support to automakers in order to aid the latter's expansion, as the outbound shipping of electric vehicles prompted an unexpected spike in exports in March. And that's it on Business Trends. I am Victor Anigonomsu.
Thank you, Victor. Meanwhile, there was a message circulating about a week ago asking people to register for the palliative. It was on WhatsApp and different places, giving them a link to register. Please disregard that message. It's fake, and the originators are scammers. Please disregard. Moving on now, let's join Rachel, who is on the street where she is speaking with small business owners about the impact of social media on their businesses. You know, I find this topic very interesting because of a truth. Social media has helped so many businesses. But there's a controversy. Some people are saying social media only favors big businesses. Rachel, let's talk about social media and its impact on small business owners.
Thank you, Imewere. Talking about social media and its impact on small businesses, like you said, it's a very interesting topic, but I think most Nigerians aren't ready to talk about it. Many people say social media only impacts the big businesses. But again, some people are saying it even favors the small businesses more. Quite controversial there. I'm here on the street and I'm going to be speaking with small business owners. We're going to be hearing directly from them how social media has impacted their businesses.
I belong to WhatsApp. And it has really helped my business. Through status, if I want to post something, I post it through my status. At least people will start viewing it. From there, they'll be calling me on phone, asking whether I have this or the other one.
But based on what I hear or something like that, at least it helped. But for a long time, I have not been on social media. But I think that when I was on social media, at least it helps me.
Social media has really impacted us. We are operating with our Instagram, and you see, like most of our customers, if they come, they would like to know our Instagram page so that they will be checking the latest. You know, like now in this our time that we are now in this century, you will see most people, they come, they would like to know the latest. So most people, they like to stay at home and check through social media. But just that one problem with Facebook is that once you posted something on Facebook, you posted your product on Facebook, before you know, scammers, they will now copy it and be scamming people. They will pretend, or maybe they will be as if there is the owner of the product that is selling, not knowing it's not, it's scammers. So you see that most times many people are complaining if they posted something, before you know that they will now copy it and be scamming people. So you that you are genuine, if you posted your own, before you know that people will be complaining that this one, they would like to spoil another person's business.
Social media is really impactful on businesses generally, but it all depends on how you use your space. Well, before we join Imeweri in the studio, let's unveil our business celeb of the week. So how did you start and why did you start Akara business?
Yeah, you know, as a fresh university graduate, looking for what to do to enhance living, I graduated from prestigious University of Nsukka, UNN, and then I think I started Akara during my NYC period in Bayelsa State.
Oh, you started frying Akara in Bayelsa State?
Yes, as a copper.
Oh.
Yeah. So, and it was due to an urge of me being curious of what to do after NYC, you know. I just need to dabble into something that, okay, let me start Akara business. Anyway, I was formerly a makeup artist, you know.
you were formerly a makeup artist.
Yeah.
And then you ventured into Akara business.
Yes, then I was a beautician. I mix hair. Wow. I tie gele. I do makeup. Wow. And then, well, you know, COVID took those things away from me, and I need to divert to something else because of the situation at hand then. And then that was how I found myself frying Akara. You know.
I'm curious. You know, a young graduate frying Akara.
Yeah.
How did you learn? Like, who taught you?
I actually didn't learn how to fry Akara. It was this an online tutorial on YouTube.
Your branding, the packaging, and everything. How did you come about it?
Yeah, I started with ordinary nylon, selling with leather when I was in Bayelsa. You know, later, after my NYC coming down to Abuja, I started thinking, this Abuja, everything comes with packaging, you know. So what can I do to package my own Akara? And not that, not the packaging. What can I do to make it a brand, you know, that will go, you know, that will travel far and people will say, okay, what do you want? Akara. When you say Akara, you have so many Akara, but specifically Akara Ayo, you know, that's different, and that's what makes it a brand. You know, I was actually looking for how I can actually turn the Akara business to a brand, and to God be the glory, I was able to achieve that.
You know, you enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah, of course.
Now, if you get an offer, maybe from a government organization or from a bigger organization where they want to pay you huge, would you leave Akara business to go into?
I actually don't want to use Akara business. I've made up my mind that I'm not going to use Akara business as a stopgap mayor. Because if I'm doing that, if I'm taking a different offer now that is distinct from Akara business, shows me going into Akara business will look as if it was a stopgap mayor for me. But no, I have a plan. I actually want to take the Akara business outside the shores of Nigeria, not even here in Nigeria.
So, you want to take Akara business outside Nigeria?
Yes, outside Nigeria. So I actually want to create a very big brand that will go global. You understand? So for me to leave my dream and start working for someone else, it doesn't make sense.
So you're saying you can't leave this business for even a bigger one?
If I have opportunity to travel out of the country now, wherever I go to today, I want to sell Akara.
Wow.
You know, because because it has come to my understanding that even the Western people loves the Akara, because I have like 3-4 customers that came from US, UK, they work here and they patronize the Akara and they love it. It is good to see yourself being financially free, right? Because I've never seen anybody who wants to go to school and come back to become poor. Everybody wants to actually make money. You understand? So the essence of going to school is to become somebody, of course, Abi. And then the essence of doing business too is to become somebody. I feel it is even better to work for yourself. I always tell people that the effort you put in place for 35 good years to work for government or for any private organization, if you put that half of that same effort to work for yourself for 35 years, of course, you'll be bigger than your peers.
Thank you so much, Rachel. Someone once said, there might not be enough jobs in Nigeria, but there are so many works to do. I always tell people, graduate or not, you can start up something on your own, no matter how small, and just watch it grow. Today on Talking Point, we have Professor Omoumi Iledare. He has over 40 years of experience in the oil and gas sector. He's an expert in upstream petroleum economics and policy, international petroleum and fiscal system economics, and geopolitics and economics of oil and gas resources and supply. Wonderful resume, you will say. I had a talk with him, so sit back, relax, and enjoy this interview. Thank you very much for joining us on Talking Point. And today, like we told you earlier, we'll be talking with a very erudite professor, someone who has seen it all, and he may not know it all, but he does have some form of knowledge or what direction we should go in the energy sector. And we'll be talking to him on various issues, looking at electricity and look at oil and gas, which is also his forte. Now, Professor Omoumi Iledare is our guest for today. He is a former director of the Energy Institute at the University of Port Harcourt, a lecturer from the academic, and also one who has been a public servant. Professor, welcome. Thank you very much for joining us on the program. Now, we'll start with electricity. So quite recently, the federal government removed the powers of electricity generation and distribution from the exclusive list to the concurrent list, which of course gives the powers to the states to be able to generate and distribute electricity. So my question is, do you think that the states have the capacity to be able to do this generation and distribution? But first, tell us, what do you think about that law?
Again, thank you for the opportunity to share with you some of this knowledge for public consumption. I just want to say that you are not liable for whatever I say, in my personal opinion, and they're not necessarily written in gold, but they are intellectual opinion on some of the things that we want to talk about today. First, I think it is commendable that provision in the Constitution with respect to the concurrent list, not allowing states to generate, distribute electricity where there's a national grid. But now he has removed the knot to make it open for state to participate in electric power generation and distribution and transmission, whether there's a national grid or not. So let us commend the president. I think I've said it before. You can add it up to the Petroleum Industry Act, which he also signed. With respect to your second question, which is whether the state has the capacity to really use that opportunity to be independent of the central government with respect to power in their state. It's a dynamic thing. Once they start well and not rush into it, it's going to get better. I wish they are taking the advantage